Let me ask you something right at the start. Have you ever wondered how attackers can break into a system and still control it remotely without being physically anywhere near it? Because once you understand that, you start to see cybersecurity in a completely different way. Today we're diving into one of the most important concepts in advanced exploitation, and that is how reverse shell techniques actually work, how attackers gain remote access through them, and how defenders can detect and stop them. Welcome to Bluehat Cybersec Academy. So to really understand this, we first need to start with the basic idea of what a shell actually is. A shell is simply a program that allows interaction with an operating system. It lets a user execute commands, browse files, and control processes. In cybersecurity, shells come in two common forms, and this distinction is very important. The first is a bind shell, where the victim machine opens a listening service and the attacker connects to it directly. And the second is the one we care about today, the reverse shell, where the victim machine itself initiates a connection back to the attacker. Now, this reversal is exactly what makes it so dangerous, because it flips the traditional network security model completely upside down. Outbound connections are often less restricted than inbound ones, and attackers take full advantage of that. Now let's go deeper into what a reverse shell actually is. A reverse shell is a remote access technique where the compromised system connects back to the attacker's machine and then provides command execution access. Instead of the attacker reaching into the victim system directly, the victim essentially calls back to the attacker. And this simple shift is powerful for a few key reasons. First, firewalls typically block incoming connections but allow outgoing traffic. Second, network address translation makes direct inbound connections extremely difficult. And third, outbound connections are often not monitored as strictly in poorly secured environments. Now let's break down how attackers actually use reverse shells in real-world scenarios, step by step. It usually starts with what we call the initial compromise stage. At this point, attackers first gain execution capability on a system. This can happen in multiple ways, such as phishing emails with malicious attachments, exploitation of unpatched vulnerabilities, malicious scripts inside web applications, or even weak credentials that are brute forced. Once that initial access is achieved, the next stage is payload execution. Here, the attacker runs a small piece of code or payload that instructs the system to initiate an outbound connection. Then comes the callback connection stage, where the compromised machine opens a network connection to an external system controlled by the attacker. And finally, we reach the most critical stage, remote command control. At this point, the attacker has an interactive command interface, which allows them to execute system commands, browse files and data, install persistence mechanisms, and even move laterally within the network to compromise other systems. Now, the reason reverse shells are so effective comes down to a few important characteristics. They are firewall friendly because most corporate networks allow outbound traffic, especially over standard ports like HTTP and HTTPS. They are also NAT compatible, meaning they bypass network translation restrictions because the connection originates from inside the network itself. They are stealth-oriented because they can blend in with normal outbound traffic if monitoring is weak. And finally, they are lightweight, meaning they require very little code and can be deployed extremely quickly after exploitation. In real-world attacks, reverse shells rarely appear alone. They are usually part of a larger chain of compromise. For example, in a web server compromise scenario, a vulnerable web application is exploited and attackers execute commands on the server. A reverse shell then provides ongoing access. In email-based attacks, a user opens a malicious attachment or script, which triggers outbound communication from their system. In cloud misconfiguration scenarios, improperly secured cloud instances are accessed and then used as launch points for reverse shells. And in post-exploitation tooling, attackers often rely on reverse shells as a fallback when more advanced remote access tools fail or are blocked. Once a reverse shell is established, the risks and impact escalate very quickly. Attackers can steal sensitive data like customer records, credentials, and intellectual property. They can tamper with or destroy systems. They can deploy ransomware. They can create persistent backdoors for long-term access. and they can perform internal network reconnaissance to expand their control. In many real breaches, the reverse shell is not the end goal. It's just the beginning. From a defensive perspective, detecting reverse shell activity requires looking at both network and host behavior. At the network level, security teams watch for unusual outbound connections to unknown IP addresses, persistent long-lived connections from internal hosts, traffic over uncommon ports, and encrypted outbound traffic going to suspicious destinations. At the host level, indicators include unexpected child processes spawned by web servers or scripts, command interpreters running in unusual contexts, and abnormal process execution chains that don't match normal behavior. To catch these patterns, defenders rely on tools like SIEM systems for correlation rules, endpoint detection and response, or EDR solutions, network traffic analysis tools, and intrusion detection systems. Now, when it comes to prevention, reverse shell defense is not about one single solution. It's about layered security. First, restricting outbound traffic is critical. This means implementing strict egress filtering, allowing only necessary outbound connections, and blocking unknown or unused ports. Second, patch management is essential. Keeping systems updated removes vulnerabilities that attackers commonly exploit for initial access. Third, enforcing least privilege ensures users and services only have the permissions they absolutely need. Fourth, application control helps by whitelisting approved executables and blocking unauthorized scripting engines where possible. Fifth, network segmentation reduces the ability of attackers to move laterally across systems. And finally, strong monitoring and logging ensures centralized visibility, anomaly detection, and behavior-based outbound traffic monitoring. And now here's something important to understand on a deeper level. Reverse shells are not some rare elite hacking technique. They are standard tools used in real-world intrusion scenarios every single day. And their success doesn't come from complexity. It comes from exploiting assumptions like outbound traffic is safe, or internal systems can be trusted, or even users won't execute malicious content. Modern cybersecurity completely rejects those assumptions. So to wrap this up, reverse shells represent a major shift in attacker strategy. Instead of forcing entry from the outside, attackers often wait for systems to unknowingly open the door from the inside. And understanding this concept is what separates surface-level awareness from real cybersecurity thinking. Because once you understand how reverse shells work, you also understand how attackers quietly maintain control long after the initial breach. Now let's test your understanding with a real-world scenario. Imagine this. A company's internal workstation suddenly starts making an encrypted outbound connection every 30 seconds to an unknown IP address. No user is actively using remote tools, and there is no approved application doing this. Now here are your questions. Could this be a reverse shell? Why or why not? What logs would you check, first network logs or endpoint logs? What immediate containment step would you take? And most importantly, how would you prevent this from happening again? Take a moment and think like a SOC analyst or incident responder. If you found this breakdown of reverse shell techniques useful, remember, this is just one part of a much larger journey into exploitation and attack chains. In the next lessons of the Advanced Hacking, Attacks and Exploitation playlist, we go even deeper into how attackers escalate privileges and maintain persistence inside real systems. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with Bluehat Cybersec Academy. Because in cybersecurity, understanding attacks is the first real step towards stopping them.